You got it perfect. Thank you. Yes. Not a lot of people know how to pronounce my name with the accent on it, so I've learned that if I put that out there, then people get it right. Yeah, yeah, that confuses people. Which I have been called that.
Oh, unmuted you, but not myself. Apparently, I clicked next to it. Okay. So, okay, this is my guest, Sheila. She's another designer in the yarn event that I'm doing, the Fasten of Yarn Along, which I have talked to you about many times. So, yeah, please introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Sheila. My pattern company is Knit Dance Repeat Designs. I'm from the island of Newfoundland in Canada. Um, I yeah. uh, I tend to design with cables, or I dabble in a little bit of lace and some double knitting as well. And there are three cats. Well, two of them are wandering around in and out. So if you hear a cat, you know why.
Oh yeah, we don't mind having animals appear somewhere. I know a lot of streamers that have cats, and then they randomly appear or make noise, and nobody ever minds because bonus cat content.
Exactly. It's why the internet was built.
Yeah, exactly. So nobody's going to complain about that. So now let me see if I can actually switch my windows and still have you show, because sometimes no. Of course not, because sometimes it only takes the window that's in front. Okay, so I can't look at our questions, or I can look at the questions because I can scroll.
Oh, good.
Oh no, I didn't put them in the Discord. I think I only put them in an email. Okay. Well, you have introduced yourself. But so for how long have you been crafting with yarn? How did you get into it?
There was a lady when I was a little girl. She was a friend of my parents who she knit and she crocheted and she did needlepoint and cross stitch and tapestries and just she did it all. And when I was 6, she was teaching my mom to do cross stitch and the plastic canvas needlepoint. And I was a curious little thing, and she said, "Well, do you want to learn too?" And so that was my first dabbling with craft. Was I learned to cross stitch and needlepoint when I was 6, and then when I was 12, I all of a sudden got it into my head that I wanted to learn how to knit. And we weren't living in the same town anymore. We had moved down to the city, and so I happened to be in. Um, it was called Zellers. It was similar to a Walmart, but it was kind of it was an all Canadian company, and with my friend, and I found going through the toy area a learn to knit kit, which I snapped up. I had some babysitting money and I snapped it up and I taught myself. And then I took out probably every book in the library that had anything to do with knitting, and I just started learning how to taught myself how to do cables and a little bit of lace, and I just kind of went from there.
So my chat says, one person says, cats go where cats want to go and no one can tell them otherwise. And I totally
Big time.
agree with that as a former cat owner. And Seth says, Red has plenty of animals in chat on the regular. I laughed at that, and then Faye said, furries, emotes, and just generally ill-mannered folks, let's be real. Because, yeah, the animals in question are the people in chat, not on my stream.
Right.
I unfortunately can't have any pets due to allergies
Oh
that
no.
developed. Yeah, I know,
Oh,
I know.
oh,
I miss being able to have a cat on my lap, and yeah.
yeah. Oh no. That's awful, especially when you're used to having them.
Yeah. And
That's
Teresa says, my mom showed me the very basic of knitting when I was a child, but I learned a lot of YouTube. Yeah, that's
oh
nowadays how a lot of people learn. And even
yeah.
my mom, who taught me to knit when I was a child and has been knitting for ages, when she comes across something where she's maybe not familiar with the technology, with the technique, or it's a new technique to her, or something where the terminology in the pattern is just not what she's used to. Then
Yeah.
she has told me she looks up videos on YouTube, and just so she can words she can see how it's done, and then yeah, reproduce it, and by doing it she then understands how it works.
Yeah, YouTube is such a great resource for people. So good. I do the same thing. I look things up all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
And then Teresa also says, same with crochet. I mainly learned that of YouTube. I learn better when I can see someone doing it and copy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make
That's
it a lot easier.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
why yeah, I tell people maybe a basic book is a good help, but also look stuff up on YouTube so you can actually see how the needle or hook and the yarn move, because that will
Yeah.
help
So
you a
important.
lot in recreating it, because there's only so much you can do with drawings or photographs to show how things move, and that definitely helps a lot,
Yeah,
at
it
least for
really does.
me.
Yeah. I
So
think it helps a lot of people. I know some people say they prefer photo tutorials.
well,
So
if
I usually I have done some photo tutorials. I have them on a special tab in my blog on my site. The helpful hints, and a lot of those are photo tutorials
yeah,
because that's easiest for me to do.
yeah, for me it's, I like to at least see once how it's done. But I hate YouTube videos with tutorials because they are blah 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 blah.
They
And
don't get the
I'm going
point.
to like, will you get to the point now? I want to know how to do this stitch, not half your life story.
Exactly. Exactly. I like the ones from who is it? Pearl Soho. They do
Yeah,
very
yeah,
good ones that like they're right to the point. There's no,
yeah. I mean,
they
a
just get right into it.
short introduction about what they are going to do that day at the beginning
Yeah.
of the video. Okay, but if I have to go through 10 minutes to see the first time of you doing that particular stitch that I'm looking up, I'm like, I wanted a tutorial, not a long form video with some
Yeah,
tutorial
exactly.
in it. That's why I looked up
Yeah.
tutorial.
Hmm.
So, yeah, Teresa says, I made a sunflower coaster of a YouTube video and the lady didn't speak English, so I had subtitles on. It was hard to follow,
Oh,
but I
good.
did it and love how the sunflower coaster turned out in the end.
Oh, very
And
nice.
agrees that it's annoying when they have 10 minutes of chat before they show how to do the stuff.
Yeah. Get to the point, please.
And yeah, that's how streams go. You have chatting and need to kind of interact with them. So, and since you can't see it, I'm reading it to you.
Yeah.
um
Much appreciated.
Seth says, I don't have any pets. I don't think I ever will have any, and that's because I love animals and cannot give them a good life. They're a privilege, not a right, and I refuse to bring them into my life selfishly, knowing I can't give them a good life in return. Agree, especially knowing that Seth has executive function problems that actually make it sometimes difficult to take care
Yeah.
of fair self. Was that right? I struggle with neopronouns. Fair self? No, fair self. It would be herself or himself, then it should be fair self.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense
Yeah,
too.
them is easy for me, but with neopronouns, that's the right one. Yay, thank you. Because I really try, but it's sometimes difficult. In writing, it's easier because I can take my time figuring out. But when speaking and I have to spontaneously use the right form, I'm like, wait, which was it?
Well, yeah, it's the structure of language can be so different from one to another. So
Yeah,
especially when you're doing it on the fly, you're doing it.
yeah, and
Um,
it's something I only got used to due to Seth, because he's the first person I know that I regularly interact with who uses neopronouns.
yeah, that's
Not in
yeah,
writing, yeah, but that last time I tried to do the pronouns right, it was a whole sentence with a gazillion times pronouns in it that I was converting because someone else has had written something and used the wrong pronouns, and before I copy pasted it, I changed the pronouns to the correct ones, and it was very confusing because sometimes you use pronouns once in a sentence, but this
yeah,
person managed to use the pronoun about a gazillion times in the sentence, in all the possible versions. And oh, cat content.
yeah. Content. This is Silverbell.
Oh, that's a cute name as well, not just a cute cat.
Yeah,
So,
people are looking at you. You love the attention.
of course.
Like, you wanted attention. Now you're getting
Yeah,
it.
I know, Seth. The pronouns that other person used there were very disrespectful too. He, him is the best way to hurt Faye super badly because Seth was assigned male at birth, but is not male. So to use those
Mm.
pronouns is basically the most wrong you can get it.
Yes, yes,
So yeah, and I knew that, and that's why I did not just copy paste the text and yeah, but
yeah,
change the pronouns on the fly, which I did not get quite right, but at least I did not use them in a hurtful way.
yes, yes. Exactly. It's about intent a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I've learned from those people that are non-binary or trans in my community. If you try and get
Yeah.
it right 98% of the time, if you get it wrong once and say, um, yeah, I saw that stuff, and but then get it wrong and say, oh, sorry, and correct yourself, then that's
Yes.
good because it shows you are trying. And don't disrespect the person. You just made a mistake, like you might make a mistake with anything else.
Well, exactly. We're only human. You know, we have to try your best,
Yeah, exactly.
and sometimes you mess it up.
So, but back to the crafting conversation. Seth also said, learning origami growing up, I was lucky that there was a very old and well established pictographical language that makes it very easy to convey the process once you get it down. That's true. Origami is very, the instructions are usually with arrows and make it pretty clear what happens. It can be
Yes,
like learning a new language, but it's a very effective language. Yeah, in that
it is.
case,
Yeah,
definitely. Like knitting abbreviations, not so much effective unless you already know all the terminology to go with it.
yeah.
So,
Always have, always need a good glossary with, patterns, or
yeah,
an abbreviation section, just
yeah,
so people can be sure that of what you're meant, what
yeah,
you mean when you
yeah.
write,
And
however
especially
you write it.
since well, my native language is German, and that's the language I learned to knit and crochet in at first. And
Yeah.
then I started using English patterns, and it's not just a one to one translation. Like knit and knitting is stricken in German. A knit
Yeah.
stitch is a right stitch, and a purl stitch is a left stitch.
Oh,
Don't ask me
interesting.
why, but it is like that. So you can't just translate the word knit with the German
Yeah.
stricken, because it might also mean make a right stitch. So you always need to look at it in context of the
Yeah.
rest. So that
I
makes
did
it
not know that.
a lot more difficult. And yes, crochet language is regionalized because you have US and UK crochet terms, which are not the same despite them using the same language. Well, they are the same names, but they mean different stitches, which makes it even
Yes.
more confusing. So it's always important to look at what the pattern says, what kind of terminology they use, so you can do it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
In German,
Yeah. It's
I
very
actually
important
know
to.
only one type of terminology of crochet language, and in other countries, but in English, because it's spoken in so many different parts of the world, apparently it evolved independently from each other or something like that, and yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, we were talking about you and your crafting. You've learned pretty early, but how did you get to be a designer as well? Because that's a completely different step. You don't just need to be
Yeah.
able to follow instruction, but make up things on your own, and then being able to write that down in a way that other people can understand it.
Yeah. It's a bit of a jump. So I started off, knitting when I was 12, and then in my 20s, I started. I love to make gifts for people, that are close to me, and so I would experiment, and I'd take, I'd be making, for example, I'd make a hat, and I'd take, I'd see a neat cable and a sweater pattern or whatever, and I'd just kind of form a little recipe for things. And I had made a hat for an exchange that was going on one winter. And when I posted a photo of it, I had several people be, "Oh, that's so neat. Do you have a pattern?" I was like, "Well, no, I just kind of, cooked it up out of my head."
Hmm.
And several people, you know, wanted a pattern for it. Um, so I, having been knitting for quite some time, I knew what a knitting pattern should look like. So my first one, I posted it on my then blog, um, my first blog.
Yeah.
I had put it up, and I noticed that it was getting lots of views and stuff. And I did that then with another hat that I cooked up, and there was a kind of a one-off little shawl. Again, somebody had asked me for it. So I typed it up in standard language, no charts or anything. It was just all written, and put it out there on my blog for folks. And then I was getting a lot of encouragement. I was going to, it was before I moved out to Newfoundland. I was attending a regular knit night with some wonderful ladies. And one of them really encouraged me. She's like, you should like do more of this. You're onto
Yeah.
something. You have good stuff. Like, you need to get it out there. You need to, do this. She's a bit of a designer herself, and she does wool shows and different things. And she was very encouraging, my friend Susie. And so I considered it, and I kind of mulled it over in my head a little bit. And then I was working on something, and so it was very early January 2015, so long before New Rav. I launched my Ravelry shop. I had figured out how to make PDFs, so I took those free patterns. They're still free patterns, and I stuck them up in my Ravelry shop, and that's kind of what launched me. I just continued doing my thing.
Yes. Seth said, drew it here, looking at your work below, and I'm loving the Celtic knot blocking in some of it. Because I have a slideshow underneath our videos where I show the pictures you've
The
sent me.
photos.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you.
And blocking, I think, not my craft, not my lexicon. Yes, blocking is basically when you have finished a crochet or knit piece. It's usually, I'm going to show my Tunisian shawl in the camera, like curling on the edges and not neat and easy, and even. So you put it into water to soak it. That's the most commonly used version.
Yeah.
You can also spread it out and just dampen it with water depending on the fiber, or use a steam iron or a steamer. But it's basically, you get it wet or damp, and then you spread it out into shape and let it dry in that shape. And especially with wool, it has a very permanent effect, because once the wool is dry, it remembers the shape. So if you stretch it, oh, no, so yeah, blocking is a different type of term. The Celtic knot is just a design. Well, color blocking is when you have a large area. If you have just, it would be color work, the Celtic knot color work in the back, or Celtic knot cables, depending on what kind of design it is. So, but I just had a wait. That's where another streamer brings their people over, so I need to say hello for a moment. Sorry, Sheila.
Right? Yeah, no worries.
Welcome in, Waders. Thank you, Lady B, for bringing your people. Today I have another knitting designer with me. That's on this side is Sheila, and I'm posting a bit of information in the chat about her and where you can find her patterns. So if you do knit, you know where to look for what she's doing, and the things you see in this slideshow over there. Getting the direction wrong because of the camera being not mirrored. So yeah, that's some examples of what she designs, and we were just talking a little bit about, well, how she got to be a crafter, a yarn crafter, how she got into designs. That's basically what we already talked about, and we'll go on with the conversation. But feel free to join us in chat if it is about something we talk about, or ask any questions if you have them. So, yes, Seth corrected too. Well, love the Celtic knot designs. They seem to feature heavily and many variation. Is there any particular reason for that?
I was always drawn to cable designs, always from very young, and I was heavily influenced by Alice Starmore, and I've just always loved them. I'm also I have very strong Irish roots on my mother's side of the family, hence my first name. And yeah, so I draw upon that a lot, and a lot of Irish knitting is, well, most famously the Aran sweaters. So that's where the cables come in a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm also, a lot of my inspiration comes from, I was an Irish dancer for many years, and so again, tying in, the costumes, you've got you used to see more of it. Things have gotten quite modern, but you used to see a lot of knot work and different colors, in the used to be embroidered designs on the dresses and vests and such. So it just kind of all bundled together for me.
yeah. Well, cables and Celtic knots kind of are an obvious thing to connect with each other, because
Yeah, they
cables
are.
are like woven strands, and that's basically what the Celtic knots are. So I get that.
Yeah, exactly.
And Seth says, my shillelagh and I approve. I hope I did pronounce it correctly this time, because I can never remember how to pronounce this stupid word. This Irish staff thingy. Irish is a
Which
horrible language to pronounce when you see it written.
it is, yes. It's so different from
Oh no,
uh
I clicked the wrong button. Sorry, guys. I started ads when. Oh no, I postponed it. I clicked the right button. Okay, because Twitch requires me to have ads, but I have them on a schedule, and I can actually postpone them to some extent. So yeah, I'm trying to have them run as late as possible during our talk, so we have a long section in one go without an ad interruption for those that yeah, have not subscribed or paid Twitch in some other way to not get ads. Because yeah, Twitch tries to make money on every end, and unfortunately I can't turn ads off. I would if I
understood.
could, because the
Yeah,
little bit of income I get from the Twitch ads, I'd rather not have it.
yeah.
Oh, okay, the emphasis was off, but the rest was fine. So it's more shillelagh.
Oh,
Ah,
yeah.
yeah. I learned a little bit of Irish on Duolingo, but
Okay.
I never got to the point where the pronunciation made lots of sense to me. It was easier for me to grasp how the grammar works, in which order you put the words compared to German or English, but the pronunciation was a bit more complicated.
It's, yeah, I even myself being a bit more familiar with it from a younger age, I'm still, there's words I'm going, what on earth?
Yeah,
Like, I'm going to like Google Translate or whatever. I'm going,
yeah.
what
And
is
and
this saying?
I mean, the good thing about Duolingo is you learn a language step by step without having to learn the rules by heart. The bad thing
Yeah,
about Duolingo is that it doesn't even tell you what the rules are, which for
Yeah,
pronunciation can sometimes be difficult.
yeah, yeah. I was trying to use Duolingo once, and
Yeah. My partner
it
just
was helpful to a point.
walked past. He came home from work. Just wait a second. Just need to ask
All
him
right.
something. Can you make dinner tonight? Pasta with ready-made sauce? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, just sorting dinner making for today because when I stream and
Important.
it usually gets pretty close to dinner time when I stream. And when he takes care of dinner on those days, then I don't need to watch the time that exactly, but can end stream at a point where it feels natural, like when I have reached a part in the pattern that I'm working on, or when the conversation with people is coming down or something, like instead of I have to go now, bye, I don't care that we were talking. Which I always
Yeah,
find weird.
yeah. It's nice that you can delegate the role when you need to.
And hello, Yanya. Yanya is another knitter who is streaming on Twitch as well. And you might be interested in this today because Sheila is another knitwear designer. So I posted the link to her website again if you want to look her up. And yeah, we're having a bit of a conversation about yarn and all the things we drift off to.
Like,
So, since we are both designers, we usually have things in the planning that are
oh yeah.
going to come soon. Is there anything you are currently working on or plan to start soon that's going to come up where you can talk about it?
Oh
Or maybe
yeah.
even show us something. I know sometimes when we design for magazines or something, we are not allowed to show the stuff. Or yeah,
I'm strictly independent. That way, I'm in charge of my timeline. Where
yeah.
I have a back injury that the pain has gone chronic, and so I have really bad days where I can't work on anything, and I need to be able to move my deadlines and stuff. This spring I was diagnosed with having brain fog due to both the medication and the pain levels that I
Mm,
have. So it's even, I'm lucky if I get one pattern out in a year because I
yeah.
try to do more, but
Yeah, chronic
yeah.
friendos feel that, says Seth, and I can agree. I don't have any chronic pain, but I have depression. So I
uh,
also have days where nothing happens.
Yeah,
Nothing at all.
exactly.
Like, I can
Exactly.
maybe feed myself and use the bathroom, but that's all. I have
Yeah.
days that are okay and I have good days, but
Hmm.
there are also the days where nothing happens and I can't change that no matter how hard I try.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. It's a day by day thing.
yeah.
My roommate, um, affectionately known as Sis Twerp all over the internet, that's what I refer to her as.
Oh, so
Um,
that's who that is. Yeah.
yes, she's my one of my best friends. She's my roommate. We're more like sisters than friends. So, where she's several years younger than I am, I refer to her as Sis Twerp. But
Yeah.
she deals with depression and anxiety, and as well as being on the autism spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
So there are days where the two of us just don't function at all. And she's my photographer. She's a very talented photographer, so she
Yeah.
does my pattern photos and stuff. So trying to line up between Newfoundland weather, um, and the two of us having the issues we do, trying to plan a photo to get photos done, it can take like months.
I know kind of how that goes. Like my partner also has depression, and he used to be my photographer. Plus, we had a long distance relationship. So we planned, hey, on the weekend when you come over, we are going out and taking photos. Then it was raining. The next
Of
time,
course.
he had to cancel because he wasn't feeling well. Then maybe I had to cancel because I wasn't feeling well. And, well, having your partner visit you just so you are not able to interact with them feels
Yeah.
kind of weird. So I'd rather tell him, hey, I'm really not feeling up to having you here. We'd better have a video chat at some point when I'm feeling up to it than me being grumpy all day and spending the day in bed and not spending it with you. Because
Yeah.
then at least he is
Yeah.
at his home and can do the things he usually likes to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was always hard to get it suited. Now his brother is my photographer because, well, my partner is not a photographer. Basically, everything he knows about taking pictures, I have taught him by showing him, no, look, this picture isn't great because, but if you do it this way, and then cropping it to something, or showing him something similar where the layout in the photo, where what was centered or not centered, and stuff like this, then it works better, and explain to him the rule of thirds and all those things that in any design and photography make it more pleasing and interesting to look at. So
Yes.
basically, we he learned by doing. So yeah, and now his brother does it, who is a hobby photographer, but he also has mental illness. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
he luckily lives only 5 minutes from us, so it's usually we plan to do photographs, and if the weather is nice and I'm feeling up to it, I'm texting him, hey, are you up to taking photos today? And then it's
Yeah.
either a yes or no, and he knows he can say no if he's not up to it. Because part of his illness is social anxiety, and that sometimes goes up to the point of being around people that he knows and likes, but he's just not up to facing people or leaving the house and potentially running across strangers on the way over.
Mm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I totally know that and accept that, but it doesn't make it any easier to get stuff scheduled.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
So I have a design that it should come out in the new year. Oh yes, I have it. I actually have it close by. It's huge. um, um, it's a tote bag. I need to save up some spoons and get the lining put into it. So it's very floppy right now. Um, as I say, it's very large. I went
Yeah,
oversized.
and
Um,
knitting and bags is generally very stretchy and um, yeah, unless you put a lining in there. So
yeah, I need to get the.
oh, that's pretty. It's garter stripes and log cabin combined.
Yeah. So I based it off of I know it's very popular, the um log cabin quilt blocks that people will put into make into blankets.
Yep.
So I just made two very large blocks, and then I joined them with um I did a garter stitch strip that actually it joins the three sides and forms the
Oh yeah,
stripe.
so it actually has some
And then
depth and is not just the flat pieces put together.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually got some depth to it. It's really big.
Yeah, but it
And
looks really nice.
yes, and I like it because it is big. I plan on using it as a like a large pattern not pattern, project bag
Oh,
for
yeah.
like sweaters or whatnot. Um, the other, oh, I should have sent you the photo of the other thing I'm working on. It's very, I've been in a big mood. So I almost have the sample finished. It's a cabled cloak
Ooh.
it's got a hood. So there's a cable panel that actually runs from the top of the hood all the way down the back and goes right down to the bottom. And then
I, I
it's
want to make a cloak and wear it, but I also want to have my arms free when I wear something warm outside. That
yeah,
is
it's
a
kind of a toss
problem.
up because I've always wanted a hooded cloak to just be.
Yeah. Well,
I,
I
I
I do have a fabric hooded cloak because I did a medieval reenactment. And when you go
oh
to
neat.
medieval markets in autumn or in early spring or even in winter, you kinda need to put something over that dress so you are
Yes,
not
yes,
freezing.
for sure,
And
for
because of
sure.
my wool allergies, I actually, well, it was before I had a sewing machine, so I had it made by someone. And
Nice.
they made me a wool cloak but with a linen lining. So the part that's on my
Very
skin
cool.
is linen
Yeah, and it doesn't irritate that
and
way.
doesn't irritate my skin, but I still get the warmth and the soaking up water without getting you wet bit of the wool. So if it's raining, I'm still staying relatively dry because a proper wool fabric for a cloak is actually soaking up so much water before it
Yeah,
lets get any down to your skin. Before I
yeah,
got that, I used just a rectangle of wool as a cloak, which you could then form into a hood as well. That's the most basic form of a cloak in medieval
yeah.
times. So,
Yes, exactly.
and actually tailored one was more higher class people. So I had that rectangle, and I got rained on one day. We had it out in the sun the next day where it was warm. It was in May, like the kind of weather it
Mhm.
rains down the whole day one day, and the next day you have about 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
And you're
it's
like,
nice and
and it
sunny
was
and
out in
bright.
the sun the whole day and was still not dry in the evening. It was
Oh,
that wet, but my
yeah,
dress I wore underneath and I were dry when I came home.
yeah.
That
One of
much
the wonderful
water
things
gets
about wool.
soaked up by wool without going through and getting you wet. I didn't believe that until it happened to me, just how well wool keeps you dry without
Yeah.
any kind of extra lining, waterproofing, or something, just the slightly fulled wool fabric. So, unfortunately, people watching stream will be getting an ad soon. Now, kinda.
um.
So, yeah, not
I'm trying.
everyone will be able to hear us for the next
Okay.
90 seconds.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
that's
oh,
because
no,
that's
don't
the
touch that.
unfortunate thing. They still get a small bit where they could see us, but it also cuts the audio, so the audio of the ad is playing,
Right.
which is kind of annoying when you're having a conversation with someone or answering questions of people in chat and
Yes.
then they don't hear the answer because it happens during an ad. That's also why I schedule mine and have an alert so I can see when they are happening and know, okay, now for the next 90 seconds, better not answer questions from chat because
Yes.
everyone will want to hear the answer. So just wait for a little bit longer and then answer it. So yeah, it's less annoying for people that way because they don't
Yeah.
miss anything important.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if I could, I would turn it off completely But yeah. Twitch belongs to
But,
Amazon and they are greedy. They want all the money they can get.
okay. Oh, I didn't know they were associated.
Yes, that's also why if you have Amazon Prime, you can get one subscription to a designer, to a streamer per month for
Oh,
free,
okay.
where that person will still get the same amount as if you paid for that subscription.
Oh,
And
interesting.
and as a subscriber, you in that way support the streamer that you like and give them some income, and also you don't get any ads, and you get additional emotes and such to use
Oh,
in the chat. Like I can have some basic ones that are available for everyone who follows me and wants to talk to me, but additional ones are only for use by people who have subscribed. And no, I can't change those amounts either. I can just say this one will be free and this one will only be for subscribers, but I only have a certain amount to give out for free. So,
yeah.
but yeah, at least I can give some for free for everyone, and so there is kind of a bonus. But the biggest bonus to subscribing, in my opinion, is you don't get ads.
Yeah.
And I basically subscribe to other streamers because I want to support them in what they do. They might do some kind of craft and sell finished products I can't afford, but to pay a fiver in
Yeah.
for a month, I can afford. Plus, I get some bonus during that month, but I have supported them a little bit in ways I can. So yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that 98% of streamers get rich or even manage to make a living of being a streamer, but it's still nice to see that people appreciate you and want to support you
Yeah.
in some way. So yeah.
It's
So we
nice to know that people
yeah.
are enjoying your content.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we are back from the ads. So yeah, we can actually keep chatting about non-Twitch stuff because the people in chat already know all this stuff, so they didn't miss much.
They
So
didn't miss anything.
yeah. So we talked about new designs. I think that was all the things we had planned to talk about.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything that you would like to talk about? I mean, you said you were interested in Irish dancing, but can't do that anymore. Do you have
Yeah.
any other things that are really interesting to you besides fiber arts? Like, I love to read, for an example. I like everything's sci fi, fantasy. With Lola, we talked about role playing games and yeah, things like that. So, something that's not related to fiber arts, but that's.
Um, I like old movies. Um, or old, I should say older movies. What else?
Older, as in
So,
from which time period?
I watch all kinds. Kind of from the 30s right up to, the 80s, 90s,
Mm-hmm.
more modern things. Um, but my mom really likes, of course, movies that were um, kind of the period when she was a child,
Yeah,
in the 50s and 60s. So she kind of introduced me to old favorites of hers, and then, well, some actors from then were, popular through,
yeah,
say, the 40s, whatever. Um, so I kind of got into I have a collection of DVDs, and then, of course, being in Canada, we have access on our cable television to Turner Classic Movie Station, where they show a lot of the everything from the old black and white movies through. I think they kind of cover up into the 90s now. Weird that the 90s are considered, classics now.
Yeah, it's so
It's
weird.
like, no, it's not
Like,
that long ago. No,
like
it was last week.
80s is vintage.
Yes, I
I'm
know.
not
I'm
that
like,
old. I'm not vintage.
how? How? The stuff I remember, my dad got me I loved music from the time I was very, very small. And when my dad would be at work and I was supposed to be upstairs for my nap, I'd sneak into mom and dad's room and I'd play with the radio in my dad had radio in the headboard. He'd fall asleep to music when he'd turn in
Yeah.
at night. And so he would get so mad at me. He'd come home, and he'd go upstairs, for him to go to bed. And she was at it again. Because I'd have his presets messed up because I
Yeah.
just was if I didn't like a song, I'd scroll the dial.
Yeah. I know.
So my
That's
dad
when
was
I
a
got my
volunteer
own
fireman.
radio.
Yeah. So he got me my radio when I was 3. Like, how many people give their 3-year-old their own radio? But he even put a little shelf for it next to my bed so I could sit on my bed and listen. And now you have your own. You can leave daddy's alone. So I've loved music since I was a kid, and all that music that I listened to, starting at such a young age, all that music now it's like they've got it on the classic rock station. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I know. I
what?
know. I mean,
No,
I'm born in
no.
75 and I actively started listening to, well, basically 80s music is what I grew up with.
Yeah,
A lot that
yeah,
was just before the 80s, I still remember, but not that much earlier. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was
And
born in. I'm a 1978. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
so similar in age, yeah.
the same thing. It's
And
I
just looking at my chat, Teresa is back signed into Twitch on my new PC for the first time. Nice. Hopefully, now
oh
I'm on my PC, I will be typing a lot better than I do on a tablet or mobile. I'm pretty sure you will, because I know I always do. And 80s is 40 years ago. Can you believe it? Yeah, I know, I know. I feel so old when I hear that, but it just
I
was
know.
recently, wasn't it?
Exactly. The 90s was last week. I was
And
having this conversation with somebody the other day. I'm like, but the 90s was last week. Like, no,
yeah,
we're
and
not old. We're
yeah,
not old.
and Seth says, Yvonne, you are wet by title, because my Twitch name, like everywhere online, is Wet and the Wolf Designs as well, and I get called Wet for short. So, and a
Nice.
fine vintage at that, aging like wine. Thank you, Seth.
Ah,
And yes,
perfectly said.
Teresa, that is a Reese's advent calendar behind me.
Nice.
We don't always get Reese's peanut butter cups here in Germany, or not everywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
find them more frequently now, but I do love them. And when I
They're so
saw
good.
that I could get a Reese's advent calendar, which means 24 days of Reese's cups, even if it's just the mini cups on most days, yes,
Mm.
please.
Yeah. There's never anything wrong with chocolate.
So yeah, and Teresa was born in 1982, so grew up with the 90s music mainly. Yeah,
More
I
so,
think what I
yeah.
best remember is definitely what was in my yeah, early teenage years when I started to listen to stuff and more actively and talking to other people about music.
Yeah.
And she asks, where did the name for Wet and the Wolf Designs come from? Okay, I can explain that. because, well, I was first, when I started doing crafty stuff online, I was selling a few handmaids, a few patterns, a bit of hand dyed yarn, a bit of stitch markers, so a little bit of everything. So all the caboodle. And crafts are Handarbeiten, and everything is Kram. So I was known by Handarbeitskram, which is a mouthful for any non-German speaker. Nobody could ever pronounce it. And yeah, so when I started to really get into designing, I thought about rebranding, because I wanted something that people can actually remember, but that was not a gazillion times taken, so I would not be confused with anyone else, and that kinda related to who I am or how I design. So I talked to a lot of people, and a friend of mine said, basically, with where that a lot of my inspirations come from books or stories and stuff, and that I like reading so much, and that I'm German, I kinda needed a name relating to a Grimm's fairy tale. Because German, Grimm's fairy tale, and fairy tale because of my love for stories and things like that. So we went back and forth, and it took us a while to get to something we liked. And then we got to, yes, Red Riding Hood. But Red Riding Hood designs it's kind of missing the edge of me being a bit goth, a bit punk sometimes. So I tried to give it a bit of a more of a twist. And then we came up with Red and the Wolf designs, and that just felt right, sounded right to me. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want my designer name to be, and where I can actually see logo or graphics that go with it, that go with the name and my aesthetic. That's why my banner is a bit goth style in just black and white with a splash of red and distressed and like red splashes on there. And my logo is just a line drawing of a black wolf with red and the wolf designs next to it, so I can just use the wolf with red, and it still is red and the wolf. And things like that. I had it all drawn by other people, but the ideas of what I want came from me, because I'm not an artist. So yeah, that's how I got to be Red and the Wolf designs. And yes, I of course checked if it was still available on the major sites that I use and as a website, so I could actually use my name everywhere and be recognized. So yeah, that's how I got to be Red and the Wolf designs, and have been for quite some time now. I don't actually remember how long it was. I think about 10 years.
Wow.
Because yeah, all the other crafty stuff that I did before as part of my business fell away due to not having enough room to properly be a dyer, not having the spoons to always go to the post office, getting into trouble with Etsy over non-delivered parcels, where I was actually still chatting with the people, but they had the mistake of filing a complaint and then never told Etsy that the complaint was resolved.
Oh no.
And I was penalized for it, so I basically stopped selling physical items at that point. And did just the designing, so the name wasn't really fitting anymore, the old name. And well, I was thinking about changing it even before that, because lots of people could not remember it, how to pronounce it, how to spell it, And that does not help people find you online.
Yeah. Yeah, you need something that's easy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of makes sense as a
Yeah.
combination. And yeah, so that's how I got to that. And I'm lucky to have
That's why
some really creative friends who know me, not just as a designer, and that helped me come up with it.
having friends that know a little bit about things is very useful.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes when brainstorming ideas, no matter what it is, it sometimes helps to talk about it and then get some kind of feedback on it, and then suddenly when you are stuck with an idea and talk about it, then suddenly there might be the inspiration coming from something someone said that wasn't even quite related to it, and you are going like, that's what I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
you'd never know.
yeah, like we were talking about, someone mentioned that there were no entrelac knitting designs in the database this year, just
Yeah,
crochet
and
and Tunisian crochet. And I was like, oh, that would make such a cute cup cozy. Or I can see leg
oh,
warmers with entrelac at the top and something else below. I'm not quite sure what, but entrelac at the top, and then have the spikes at the top. So just not even it out, but have the edges poke out.
yeah. It was so weird that came up because something I had thought of, um, a future idea, is I was going to do a baby blanket in entrelac.
Oh,
Just, you know,
well, so next
the
year there
idea
might be more
the
than one
idea had
entrelac
come to
design.
me. Yeah, the
Because
idea
I
came to
plan to
me
be back
earlier
for
in the
the
fall, and then
yeah,
for people to be talking about it, I was like, oh wow, one of my
yeah.
wavelengths is actually matching other people.
Yeah,
Oh,
I wasn't really thinking about it because I did entrelac in the past, but before
yeah,
I did many designs. And usually,
yeah,
when I learn a new technique nowadays, I'm like, oh, I can see this or that item working in it and want to try it
exactly.
out because that new technique gives me new ideas
Yeah,
of how to use
exactly.
it. But yeah, I never designed with entrelac because it was before I considered myself a designer.
Yeah,
I mean,
I haven't done it in years, but I
yeah.
don't know
I
why.
mean, like
But
like like
earlier in
you,
the fall, I thought, oh, that would
yeah.
make a neat baby blanket.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I have always adjusted patterns to. I have a basic free baby head pattern. I have a sock pattern with this stitch that I like. Let's make a fancy baby head. Or
There you
stuff
go.
like that. And but I never realized that that was basically designing, and that not everyone can do that. Some people
Yeah,
just can't wrap their mind around how to do that. And that not everyone's brain works that way. When I learned
yeah,
that, and people kept asking me for patterns for really simple moose.
yes.
My sorry, my mod and online friend Moose just tipped me 100 euros.
Oh, wow.
Thank
How
you.
Good.
good of you to join us.
Redden 4 hype hype Redden 4 hype hype
Thank you
Redden 4
so
hype hype Redden
much.
4 hype hype.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Mhm.
And you know what to do for your resub? Because for my subscribers, they actually get to choose a yarn color. I'm probably going to lose you and share the yarns on screen. Yeah, there we go. Um, but they get to choose a yarn color, and I'm going to add it to a blanket. I can't show you right now because you can't see me, but I might post a picture of it in the miscellaneous chat later.
Oh, good. I'd love to see it.
because I'm basically knitting. You maybe have seen the 10 stitch blanket around,
Oh, yes.
and I'm making a variation of that, and always knitting 10 garter ridges on over 10 stitches in the color people choose for every subscription. So if they subscribe every month, they get one new bit added every month. If they just subscribe once, they get one bit. So the more they subscribe, the more influence they have over how the blanket will look. And when that's finished, I'm going to run a giveaway and will give it to someone in the community. So they helped me create it, and
Nice.
one person of the community will get it. Let me have a look if S7 is still available. Yes, it is still available. That was a leftover I had that I can add that to the list. It's
Nice.
a stripy yarn where I had leftovers. I'm using all from one brand, really nice acrylic yarn.
Nice.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I can't even open a completely different window, not just another browser window without it blocking it. But, yeah, I will have you off screen for a second because
Oh,
streams are weird. And if I don't write this down right now, I will have
you won't.
forgotten about it and it doesn't go on my list.
Yes. Always. I've learned to always have like a notepad or something.
Yeah. So now we are there. So Seth said, Hensuist here could never even get used to using a patterns, always have winged it. Will I ever make patterns? No, probably no. I don't use them, so I can't make them. And some people are sad to hear that when they see the shit I make with just fabric, hardware, a needle, and dental floss. Yeah, but it is a completely different step to make up stuff to write a pattern.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. It is a different skill.
And as someone who does not use patterns, of course, you don't know what goes into a well-written pattern, so people will understand it. So I totally get why you won't want to make them, because, you need to understand how they are usually built, because otherwise people won't understand what you are writing down.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
that makes a lot of sense.
But it is an additional skill set. Being a designer is not just getting the ideas and being able to create them. It is also, at least if you are an independent designer and not independently rich and can pay other people to do shit for you, you will also know how to write a pattern, how to model and or photograph, because for one of those you will need someone else to do it. How to advertise, how to use social media, how to make your own website or use some shop software or something else. So you need to know so many things and do so many things to be an actual designer out there for something. That is a lot of different skill sets that go into it.
Yeah, there's so much. You don't think about it at first, but once you start and you're like, oh, I have to, for me, I didn't start my shop until 2015 because I didn't know how to make a PDF. I have no computer skills whatsoever. Yeah. I'm not a technological person.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to do that.
And I mean, I'm lucky that in my job training, I learned sales assistance, including the office part of being a salesperson, like doing the bookkeeping, doing invoicing, calculating prices, ordering stuff, and all that stuff was part of my. In Germany, we have apprenticeships. They are called apprenticeship, even if they are not for things like handcrafts like carpenter and stuff, it's still an apprenticeship, and they are a huge part of education in Germany. Like there is less
Oh,
focus
good.
on university education
Mm-hmm.
and more on those apprenticeships. And of course, different levels of school education give you access to different types of jobs. Like if you just barely finished school, you might not get an apprenticeship for someone to work at a bank, because you
Right.
need a certain level of education and math and things to be able to do the stuff as a banker. But
Right.
they
Yeah.
still will get you into some of the more manual labors that are still need to be learned into trade. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I did the not just salesperson but plus office stuff. So I basically learned right away to use computers and use MS Office and things like that.
Yeah.
Way back when Excel, for example, didn't have pre-made formulas and you had to write all this stuff by hand, and it was
Mm.
basically a programming language. Like if you want to this, like if it marks it wet if it does not fulfill the requirements for that field that we had in the designer sheets.
Right.
That would be, if it is one of those, leave right,
Mm.
else do that and that. So you needed to write if then else programming stuff, and with certain kinds of punctuation and where the brackets go, and it needs to end with this punctuation, and if you forget one of those it won't work. And so I really learned that from scratch on, and it's so easy nowadays
Yeah.
because Excel already knows how to do it. You just need to figure out, I want to do this. What is the name of that function? And you can Google that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
It's gotten a
so so
lot easier.
so yeah, I was basically lucky that I got the computer skills with my education, and then I did when I was pregnant and well work in retail and times as that you can work as a single mom kind
Yeah.
of do not match. So
Yeah.
I was retraining for office jobs and got more training in this kind of stuff and in newer versions of the software, and then I've been working at offices and using computers. And so yeah, I'm basically have been very familiar with how to do all this stuff from a pretty early age.
Yeah.
And so that was not the hard part for me as a designer. What I find incredibly hard is advertising. Like,
Yes.
how do I talk about my stuff and say it's awesome, buy it, without saying it's awesome, buy it?
Yeah. Exactly. That's
And
something I struggle with
and
too.
and
The
then social media and their stupid algorithms, where
Mhm.
you sometimes wonder why did this thing get seen by 1,000 people, and this other thing that's almost the same photo of something similar with the same hashtags got seen by 100 people.
Mhm.
Why? You look at your statistics and don't understand them, and it doesn't tell you why, because it doesn't
Yeah.
tell you where the views came from. Your views came from hashtags. Well, from
Yeah.
which of my hashtags?
Yeah. What's working?
Yeah, so
They don't
so
tell
it,
you.
it doesn't even help you to figure out what worked this one time so you can do it again. Or was it
Yeah.
maybe stupid luck and the right person saw it and shared it in their stories and it got seen a gazillion times through that? Or
Yeah.
something like that, and you don't know. And that makes it so annoying to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be a lot clearer what's actually working.
Yeah, and once you have figured it out, or kind of figured out what works for you. They changed the algorithm and nothing is the same anymore.
Nothing's the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
They keep doing it.
Yeah, so
I find Instagram is I mean, it's the best for showing photographs. I mean, that's why it was created. It was for sharing photographs.
yeah.
Which, with knitting and crochet and, any crafts, visuals are very important. But they've made it so impossible to find anything with the hashtag now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
where
at first it at least worked that you could see everything new that was posted with the hashtag. Now you only see the popular posts.
yeah.
Well, how am I supposed to get popular if
recent.
nobody sees it?
Well, exactly. It's made it so hard. I know. With the Fast Enough, I'm one of the people running the Instagram for that. I'm mostly doing the games, but
Yeah.
trying to find, like, we were doing the prompt to have people share their bingo cards.
Mm.
Well, I go into the hashtag and I can't find hardly anything from this year.
Yeah, you need
top,
to come
all
up
of
with
the
a
top
new.
posts,
You need to come
the
up
top
with a
posts
new
are from
unique
like 2
hashtag.
years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
No.
And that's so
That's why
annoying.
all the Instagram stuff is I'm doing all the games and stuff in stories, because at least I can find that again.
Yeah.
I can find who voted on the poll or voted or
Yeah.
answered one of the quizzes or whatever.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I post the reel of the prize wheel, and
yeah. Yeah,
because
or you need to
otherwise
come up with
I can't
something where
who
people,
shared.
where people can reply in the comments.
Yeah.
That is another thing you could do. Or
Yeah.
you need to tell people, don't use the hashtag, tag us. Because then
Yes.
it will show up in the notifications.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why when I post something on Instagram, I'm always using both the hashtag and tag the Fasten of Jana Long account. So I know it gets seen by you.
Yes. And then, when it's mentioned, post or story, then we can share it and, because the whole purpose is to try and boost, our designers and our makers. So
yeah,
if we're tagged, we can see it and we go, oh yes, we need to share that. We'll share that to our story, or we'll make sure to boost everything that we can.
Yeah, and I mean, I also do it on the posts where I showcase what I'm working on, which is from other designers, because I want them to get seen.
Yes, exactly. I need to do more on I've been focusing so much on the account, the event account, that I've kind of neglected my own.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hello, Tweety Verde, welcome in. Today is a pretty unusual stream for you to join me, because I have another designer here that I'm chatting with. Usually you see me crafting and I talk more with the people who are watching, but yeah, welcome in. Need to say hello to people.
Yes.
Just polite if they talk to me and say hello, to say hello back.
Exactly.
So yeah, we were just talking about how social media makes stuff so complicated. And that's why I love using Mastodon now.
What are you doing? No.
Cat is doing cat stuff.
Oh.
Because on Mastodon, if I follow a hashtag, I get all the new posts from that hashtag in my timeline, in the order they appear. Or I
Oh,
can just
nice.
click on a hashtag and see all the posts in which, if I don't follow that hashtag, but think, oh, it might be interesting to see what else get posted there.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't want all the posts all the time. And if I follow a person, I get all their posts in the order they post them. And don't need to go hunting for them because some algorithm decided. No, there is no. Sharing is really just to share with your audience, but it doesn't help visibility of the post in the sense that more of the followers of the original post will get to see it. Because all my followers will get it in their timeline. If it does not appear at a time when they are online, they might not scroll far enough back to see it, but they have a chance to see it.
Yeah.
When I post it, which is especially nice when you make sales posts, or today is the last day of the sale and people get to see it 3 days later, which has happened to me on Instagram. Or I saw a flash sale today. Oh, that was 3 days ago. Yay. Thank you, Instagram. How useful.
Yeah. How helpful for people.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and stuff like that. So I find it totally annoying that you can't even decide anymore. I don't care about your algorithms. I want to see it in a different order. Because when I started using social media, you actually had this chronological timeline.
Yeah.
And then for a while you had the option to do one or the other. But
now they've changed it so that we can't opt. We can't, change it.
Yeah. And hello,
I remember when
Goodisu.
Instagram was still chronological.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mastodon still has that, and they won't change it because they are not a thing owned by one person.
Yes.
But it's spread out, and it's not about making money with it. And getting rich of it. So that's definitely a big advantage of that. And I realize even when I was on there, and then the server I was on, called an instance over there, was closed because they couldn't afford to anymore, or whatever the reason was. But it was closed, so I lost all the accounts I was following. I lost all my followers. Because since that server was closed, I could not export the data from there. You can usually, if you change instances, can export the data from the old one and get it into the new one. But if the server doesn't exist anymore, you don't have access to that data anymore. You can't get to it anymore.
Oh, wow.
So I had to start completely new. But even within the first 2 days, I got more views and more interaction on my posts than I ever did on Twitter or Instagram with over 1,000 followers.
Oh, that's good.
And on websites where I see where the people came from, like I now sell my patterns on Etsy again because patterns get sent out automatically now, so I won't have any "this did not get delivered" claims. And even there, it shows me where people come from. And basically my Mastodon posts get me so many views over there sometimes. That's a lot more than I ever get from any other social media. Because the people who follow me because I'm a crafter and designer. They are mostly yarn crafters themselves. So yes, of course, patterns are interesting to them. They might not buy immediately, but they at least have a look. And maybe they bookmark and come back. And I'm getting so much more interaction there. And also to just the personal posts and everything. Just because the people actually get to see those.
Yeah. so many of the others you just don't get seen.
Yeah.
Unless you're paying to be boosted or whatever.
Yeah. And I can't afford to do that. So, yeah. I need to drink a bit more.
Oh.
My tea is cold by now, but who cares? So, yeah. Well, we've been talking for an hour and a half now.
Oh my, yes, we have been.
I just checked the time. So I'm not sure how you are on time, or if you have anything else you want to talk about. I still can go for about half an hour. That's when I will end my stream. So if you want to keep chatting, we can definitely do so. If you'd rather get to do something else, then that's fine. Then I'll just craft on stream for a bit more. Leaving that up to you.
I probably have things I should be checking on.
Yeah, especially since you help with the fastener of Yanalong and have to do some stuff there. So, yeah, that's totally fine.
It's keeping me busy.
Then let's see. Does someone have any last minute questions for Sheila? She knits, designs knitwear. So if there's anything else that you want to ask her, now would be a good time. But otherwise, yes, Panda. What's her Twitch name? She doesn't have one. She doesn't stream, but I can post the link to her website again for those that don't watch Twitch but might want to check out her website or her patterns. There is the little introduction post I wrote for her with a link to her website. So, yeah. That way you can have a look at what else she does and where she is on social media. I think that should be on. People should be able to find that on your website as well.
Yep, I have links to my my Instagram and my Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter.
Yeah. Same. X is just a stupid name.
It's
my
so
ex
dumb.
What? It sounds like the ex-boyfriend or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Man's a moron.
Oh yes.
Oh.
He might be a genius, but he can be incredibly stupid at times. And I'm saying might be.
He's book smart. He has no common sense.
Yep, definitely. But yeah, since there were no other questions to you, then I would say thank you for joining me. It was fun talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
yes, it was lovely talking.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as well, and it wasn't too chaotic with people talking in between and joining the conversation.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's a different experience on a stream because you don't just have the conversation between two people, but between everyone else who watches and wants to add to it. But
exactly.
But I quite like it. It's a community of its own for me.
For sure.
So yeah. So then thanks for being there. I will see you on Discord later.
I will definitely be around.
Me too. And yeah, then talk to you soon, and thanks again for joining me. Bye.
Bye.
So, Panda, you wanted to ask something, and oh, we get the alert and chat explosion here. You told me last time about a manga or anime about a girl that has magical blood-based powers. That actually was a book, not a manga or anime. It's A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. I listened to the audiobook version of it, which was quite enjoyable. But it probably is pretty great as a written book as well. Okay, turning the music down. So yeah, I finished it by now, and it's really fun. It's well, the girl ends up being the chosen one, but not because she's the chosen one, but because there's no one else who can do it. Help! And it has a lot of fun type of humor in it, like the weapon halberd is described as it looks as if an axe and a spear got together and had really scaring looking babies. and things like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I will definitely look for more books by that author because I like her sense of humor and the way she does her storytelling. And it's basically yeah, you're the only one but subversive trope, exactly. And at the same time, like, the people in power are not always doing the right thing, but not in the sense they are evil, but they also sometimes don't know what to do because they are just human and they make mistakes. And so like royalty is just human people who happen to be born into that role and need to fulfill it and things like that. And it is a lot of social commentary on how people that are other in some way are treated in different areas, but also are treated by single people. Like, in general, magic people where this girl lives are accepted in society and are just like everyone else. But also there are people who have prejudices against people with magic, and it's easy for someone to come into power and use those prejudices for their own means and yeah, make kind of fuel those prejudices, which you can look as a parable for racism or for homophobia, transphobia, and all those things. So yeah, it picks up on a lot of this. So it's definitely social criticism, but also shining a light on how easy it can be to control people and because people are people and some people will believe it, and if a person is in power they can abuse that and can take power away from other people who just don't anything because they don't know what to do and stuff like that. So I really like the way of looking at things. So yeah, I definitely can recommend the book. And I mean, how could I resist a title of A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. But it keeps up with what it promises. So yeah. Now I keep working a little bit on this Tunisian crochet shawl that I'm making. I didn't make much progress during the chat because too much stuff was distracting me from looking at what I do, but got a few rows done. I at least have some of the red in the gradient showing up. You can see it started at light cream, went a bit darker, then got a brownish gray at it, and now is getting into the red. And it ends with mostly red and just a little bit of the brown in it. So I'm getting closer to being finished. So I hope those of you who have been around for a bit longer enjoyed my talk with Sheila today. If you missed it or missed a lot of it, then you might want to keep following my YouTube, because by now the talk from Sunday should be up. It was still processing when I went online, but it should be up now.